What's going on, good people, and welcome to the Unchurched podcast. I am Cole Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Antonio James Andrews. How are you today?
What's up, y'all? I am good today, sir. How are you?
I'm doing just fine.
Today is the 4th of July, or the National Caesar Salad Day, or whichever one you want to celebrate.
National Caesar Salad Day.
Yes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
On the 4th of July.
Yeah. So I saw something where it was originated like 1924 on July 4th.
On July 4th.
Yeah.
It's funny we don't eat Caesar salads for 4th of July.
We should. I feel like, grilled hot dog and a Caesar salad would bust. You don't think so?
Maybe some grilled chicken.
Okay, that too.
Yeah.
Or a Polish sausage and a Caesar salad.
Polish sausage.
That sounds so good.
You might actually go eat that today.
I'm going to be for real, y'all. So I don't eat beef or pork, but I love Polish sausages. And that is like the one thing I have been craving.
How long have you been off of beef and pork?
I've been clean of beef and pork since like December 31st.
Okay.
So it's been
6 months.
No. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 7.
Yeah.
So yeah.
More power to you.
Lord bless. Just keep my stomach when I do eat a Polish sausage.
Oh, so the day is coming? Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. Maybe.
The day is coming.
I'm thinking about it. Y'all just pray for me.
Yeah. Pray your strength in the Lord.
Pray my strength.
Okay, so today.
And my endurance.
Today we are talking.
To run the race.
With grace.
With grace.
All right.
Style and humility.
So today we're talking about what not to do in church.
What not to do in church?
Let's give some context. Because I realize we have a mixed viewership. We have people who actually do go to church, love the Lord, fighting for the Lord, but they're trying to figure out what their church could do better. And then we also have a viewership of people who really don't fool with church. Mm-hmm. And they love God, but they are not down with church. Mm-hmm. And so I just want to kind of talk through some things. What not to do in church and how the church could potentially be better about accommodating or teaching, educating, helping people to become more churchy. And churchy may not be the right word, but better assimilate within the church.
Yeah. So
what not to do in church? I'm going to let you take off the list.
Okay. So the first thing I got on my list is no chewing gum. So that's, excuse me, Lord. So that's a really weird rule to me because I'm a gum chewer.
I thought people had gotten past that.
Okay, so also for some context, I pulled some of these off of an article, so I may not feel like you shouldn't do them in church, but this is what the article said.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, there would be a lady that would pass a fan and make you spit your gum out.
Yeah, and they would hand you mints instead. But I don't like a mint. I want some gum.
See, I don't like gum.
Really?
I prefer mint. There's no money you could pay me in the world to chew gum.
But one of the rules is no chewing gum. And it's like an old school rule. Another rule is no sleeping. Don't get to church and take your best nap. Now, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. As a child, church used to be some of my best sleep. I remember vividly my cousin and I fighting over my grandma's lap.
Oh, who is gonna take a nap?
Because one of us finna go. And we used to literally fight. It was one time my grandma took us out of church.
Really?
Spanked us and then took us home and spanked us again because we cut up about fighting over her lap.
And she couldn't even pay attention because y'all was fighting over her lap.
And we had to go home.
But let's talk about why. If we all come together and we're trying to worship corporately, if you're asleep, how are you participating in worship?
You're not. Now you having a fire worship dream probably. But not actually.
I don't know. I was in church one time when I was in Auburn, and this guy started snoring.
It's me.
Like audibly snoring. And I think that's a little much.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, that's a little much. But I think the sympathetic side of me is okay, but what if they press their way and they've been at work all night?
Yeah, or they just honestly, y'all normalize staying home some Sundays. That's just me. Now, Cole don't agree. Normalize just staying home. I personally just don't feel like you got to go every Sunday. I think you need to be in the church. But if you can't go and actively be a part of the service, what are you going for? That's me.
You got to give me a better reason than that.
If I'm going to be sleeping in church, I might as well stay home. And now, granted, we did just talk about on the last episode of the worship experience, and the word is different. But like, if I just want to get my word, and I know I'm not gonna be up, I need to like stay at home. That's just me though. And personally, if I'm too late, I'm not going either.
I'm trying not to like pounce on you.
No, pounce on me. We could disagree. I personally, Antonio J. Andrews, if I know I'm gonna be sleep in service, I'm gonna be sleep at home.
I guess my thing is this: we drink coffee and we do energy shots for everything else. I like people pregame for the club. Unfortunately, they do cocaine to get up to go to the club.
Nah,
I'm not. But people will do what they need to do to stay up for everything else. And people will press their way for everything else. And so I, for one, am not one that says that just stay home, because there in everything in life, if it's important to you, you're gonna figure out a way to go. You're gonna figure out a way to be awake. And church, I feel like a lot of people it's the first thing we excuse our absence from. I'm tired. I've had a long week. I've done this. And so I just can't get with that one.
Okay. Well, we could just disagree a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I just can't get with that one.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll grow some more and I'll never miss church again.
Well, it's not about never missing church again. Because like if I'm sick, I'm probably not coming.
I'm like, if you sick, period, you shouldn't go.
Yeah. Like, well, when I say sick, like if I'm actively sick, sometimes we wake up and we don't feel our best. But you're not really sick.
Yeah.
Like you just feel blah. Like I'm still going. But like if I'm actively sick, like I got the flu, I got COVID, I got a stomach like bug going on.
Yeah. But back to the what you shouldn't do in church.
All right.
So the third thing on the list that I have, and it's something I'm not gonna lie, I think it was an understood rule, but I didn't realize it was a rule because it was enforced, but not really enforced. Like and depending on who it was, that was just like when it was enforced. But a lot of other churches enforced it. It was just in my experience. But walking behind the pulpit, a lot of people don't know that like you're not supposed to walk behind the pulpit.
So in 2024, most churches don't even have a pulpit no more.
Yeah.
Like in 2024, they call it the stage. We have a pulpit at our church, but in most churches, this is a stage. And that whole sense of reverence is not even a thing, because the praise team sings on it. Anybody who addresses the crowd sings on it.
Yeah.
And really, if you're not just a traditional Baptist church, this is not a rule anymore.
Yeah. Now, I never really got that rule. So maybe if you can enlighten me, but I don't see why I can't walk behind the pulpit.
So it's not a biblical thing. Let me get, because this was a war I had when I was like a young preacher. I was like, what is the importance? Like, why does it matter?
Yeah.
It's not a biblical rule. It's one of those house rules we talked about. It's one of those setting something sacred. So usually there's a rule that nobody other than ministers can be in the pulpit. For a long time, nobody other than male ministers can be in the pulpit, and that nobody can touch the table, this do in remembrance table, unless you've been ordained.
Okay, yeah.
And it's a reverence thing. It is like I view the Lord's Supper as so holy that I don't want anybody touching the table unless they are ordained. Nobody sits in the pulpit because that is where we hear from God. And so you can't go behind the pulpit, stand on the pulpit or anything unless you are a clergyman that's about to deliver a word from God. And so it was a reverence thing, but it's not biblical. Because first of all, the word pulpit is not in the Bible. Let's start there. And I know there's some older folks that may not like that, but it's not in the Bible. There were places where you see Jesus go to a higher place, but that's probably the same reason we have stages for performances, because people can't see you if it's a large crowd.
Yeah.
We see Jesus borrow a boat to go stand on it so that the people can see him and so he could be heard. But this whole idea that the pulpit is somewhat holy, that is a man-made concept. I do, however, think that when we come into the house of God, that we need to have a sense of reverence. And I think our generation has no reverence for anything. And so a lot of times we have a problem, and this is me fighting with myself and my own thoughts. We sometimes have a problem with things that people have called holy or sacred or whatever. I think when we come to church, we ought to be like, okay, I'm not in the club and this is not Walmart. And so I do need to be more aware of what I'm doing and where I'm going. But at the same time, I think that the old folks have put a lot of
stipulations.
Yeah. And a lot of man-made weight on human-made things. Like, and called it God.
Yeah.
Like, I remember thinking that you were going to get struck by lightning if you touched the table.
Huh? Like the doing remembers me? You thought you was going to get struck?
The way that they treated it.
Okay.
Or like, I remember children getting fussed at when they would try to head up them steps toward the pulpit. Like.
Okay, so what's crazy, like I said, in my church, it was never nothing like that. It was like I don't know. I never got yelled at for walking behind the pulpit. Now, my granddaddy was like, oh, don't walk back there. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I might still do it, but not. I was a bad kid, so it's just what it is. The first time I saw somebody get yelled at was when I was in college. When we went to sing at my advisor's church, and it was a musician. This lady, like, for one, she was rude, but she was like, "Y'all need to what was like." Okay, so y'all, we got like somebody in the house, and I just want to announce her. Erin is here. Erin, were you with us when we sung at that church, and that pianist like yelled at whoever was walking behind the pulpit? Yeah, and on top of that, literally, our director couldn't even stand up there and direct us. Like, they had to stand down in the audience. Yes, like, that lady was like, no.
Extreme.
Yeah, extreme. But she was rude, so couldn't nobody receive that well. Because somebody should have knocked off the piano.
But it's a man-made stipulation, and I understand holding something as sacred.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I get a little antsy when people be trying to eat in the sanctuary. Like, I'd be like,
Yeah, okay, yeah. Now I am traditional when it comes to that. Like, no food, no drink.
Yeah, like,
unless it's a little water.
Like, somebody was handing out snacks in my Bible study the other week, and I was like, are we supposed to be eating in here? I don't think we're supposed to be eating in here.
See, at my church, we do Bible study in the fellowship hall. So, like, y'all do it in the sanctuary?
We haven't had Bible study in the gym, like adult Bible study in the gym, since my daddy was teaching Bible study, and that's been like at least 23, 24 years ago.
Oh, so
maybe even 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, because when my dad would teach Bible study, we would all sit in the gym and we sit in a circle, and we would have Bible study that way. But that has not been a reality in a long time.
Lord, so it was before I was born.
Yeah, and we had youth Bible study would move. Sometimes we'd be in the gym, sometimes we'd be in a classroom, sometimes we'd be in multiple classrooms. That evolved. But like adult Bible study.
Oh, wow. But yeah, so don't eat in the sanctuary because I don't like that.
But it's churches that have, a message in a movie and they do popcorn. It's churches that have coffee shops.
Church of the Highlands. I enjoyed myself. We watched a movie. We had popcorn. They gave a little sermonette out there. I was like, okay, this was cool.
Yeah.
I was in college.
Yeah.
That popcorn was good.
It was good.
It was real good. Did they have drinks? I think they had like Coke and Sprite. Yeah.
And so I think, again, it goes back to where you are. What church am I at?
Yeah.
Me being aware of my surroundings, like understanding, hey, this church look like it got stained glass. I probably don't need to eat in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
This church look like an auditorium. I probably can't eat in the sanctuary.
Yeah. This goes back to a point that Aaron gave us. Read the room.
Yeah.
Like, read the room for the church. Because like you said, if he got stained glass, you probably can't wear no sandals. You doggone sure can't wear no hat. And please don't bring in nothing that's not water.
Yeah.
You can't bring no tumbler. Now I can't lie to you though. The old people do be having snacks. And I remember being a child and I would sit with the old.
Because like the blood sugar be getting low.
Yeah. And I sat with that old lady. We would share her grapes and her and her crackers, peanut butter crackers.
Oh, she had grapes in her purse.
It was in like a little napkin.
See, the best little old ladies used to have peanut butter crackers they would pass out in their purse.
Now, my favorite church mother, rest in peace, Miss Lampkin, she would have deviled eggs.
In her purse?
Yes. No, not deviled eggs, hard-boiled eggs.
In her purse?
Yes. So, like, she always did it on Easter. Like, Easter she was for sure going to have them.
Used to do that, yeah.
But, like, she would sometimes just have them. She'd give you a hard-boiled egg at $5. Like, that's my girl. I miss her so much. She'll hand out deviled eggs, $5. She might give you a little snack. And there was another lady, Miss Johnson. My grandma never used to like me sitting up there because she knew I was going to eat.
Uh-oh.
I'm like, Grandma, like, let me go sit with her. Please.
Come sit right here.
And I remember one Sunday, she was like, just let him come. And, you know, she was older than my grandma, so it was like, okay, yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Ooh, I love being around older people that was older than my grandparents.
It just made you happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember one time my great grandma got onto my grandma about feeding me because I wanted to eat. My grandma was like, dinners and da-da-da-da.
Yes, because she had a roast.
My grandma said, if you don't feed my baby, give him a peanut butter jelly sandwich, something. Yeah. It was cool to see my grandma get in trouble.
Yeah, like, that served you well.
Yes. So like, you with me and you in trouble. I'm sorry.
Well,
that was a tangent.
But I think reading the room is important. And realize, you know, every week we talk about go find a church and how to be church to hurt you. Churches come in a very large variety.
Yes.
Every church is not the same.
Yes.
The rules of every church is not the same.
Even if they're the same denomination.
But really.
Yeah.
And like, let's just be honest. Like, so I go to Missionary Baptist Church. You go to a Missionary Baptist Church. It's a Missionary Baptist Church down the street, and all three churches' worship service look different.
Completely different.
The way that worship happens, the way that the pastor preaches, the way that, like, and even though Missionary Baptist usually means Black and Baptist, but that is even a spectrum.
Yeah.
Now you take the Baptist out and you say this church is, you know, holiness and this one is Baptist and that one's non-denominational. You probably got three different.
I mean, completely different.
Yeah.
Conglomerates.
Yeah. And the only thing we share is Jesus.
Literally. You know, literally.
Him, Christ, and him crucified. And hopefully we all agree that the Bible is the final authority. But that's not even always the case in every church, which is why I always tell you find a Bible-believing church.
Yeah, you need to be able to verify it in the Word.
Right.
Another thing that as a child that we couldn't do. I mean, as an adult, I just think you learn not to do it. But running in the church / like playing.
Yeah.
So like, I can't lie. I used to get in trouble for this. Running through the sanctuary. I got a big sanctuary, and as a child, it was huge. We finna run up and down these aisles.
Yeah, we finna get some laps in.
Do you hear me?
Because as a child, it's like you just have to run.
Everywhere is a playground.
Yeah.
Like,
running is fun. Like, yeah. But I think that goes back to teaching your children that there are some places that are sacred.
Yes.
Like, it goes back to, like, I know everybody wants to be their child's friend, but I think there comes a point where you train a child that every place is not the time and every time is not the place.
Yes.
And so while I want to foster, and I don't have children, so let me be clear, while I want to foster an environment where you can play and be free and be loved and feel like you can have your best expression, you can't play the same in every place. And so showing up and being your best self, sometimes that means that I can't run. That doesn't mean that I can't have fun.
Yes.
It just means that this is not the place for me to run.
Yes.
And so I think that goes back to parents, right? Teaching your children that there's a time and a place for everything. And I think that that's a lesson that as adults we have to learn too. Is just because we want to doesn't mean that we should.
Yes.
And just because we can doesn't mean we should.
Yeah. So speaking of just because we can doesn't mean we should. No cussing. Please don't cuss in church. Like let's like bridle our tongues.
Yeah.
And as a cussing saint, just pray for me. It's like it's a mental switch that comes on. I don't even have the words for that. Now sometimes certain stuff almost requires a curse word, but like it's still a certain reverence that you have for the house.
Yeah. And I think that also comes with spiritual maturity.
Yes.
Because ideally, the more you spend time with God, the more you're going to want to honor him with your lips. And so one day you'll evolve. Hopefully you'll evolve to the place where you're like, I don't think that word needs to be part of my vocabulary anymore.
Okay.
And I went through a brief period, and when I say brief, very brief period, where I use bad language. Because I lived in like my college roommate cussed like a sailor. And so it was like every other word was it was a bomb. Like it wasn't even just a playground, it wasn't an elementary school cuss word. It was a bomb. But in that same season, my walk with Christ was getting stronger. And so at some point it was just like those words, they started to pierce my spirit. And I didn't like the way that tension and how that felt. And so I just changed my vocabulary. And so I think going back to church, if it's a holy space, if this is where we expect to meet God, I want to bring God which is clean. Literally, when I look at the holiness of God or the wholeness, which is like kind of how it transliterates, he's pristine, he's clean, he's perfect. So why would I bring dirty, gutterish language and present it in his house?
Also, going back to the church being a holy place, no smoking. Jamal Bryant. No cannabis sections. Y'all leave it at the house. No cigarettes, no blacks, no marijuana. You should not be smoking in the church. And honestly, this might be more conservative. I don't feel like you should smoke on the church grounds, period.
Also, as is, should a Christian smoke?
I ain't gonna answer that.
I want to have
I like hookah. That's my flesh.
That's your flesh?
Because I don't know what the words say. Let me see.
Well, the Bible talks about being given over to substances. And honestly, I'm not going to tell you. I don't know. I struggle with it. I struggle with this argument, and I don't smoke. I struggle with this argument because if tobacco was grown in the ground, and so was weed, I kind of struggle with: is it sinful, or is it just the getting high part sinful? Because in my experience, we've demonized alcohol when Christ turned water to wine. And Paul writes to Timothy and says, drink a little wine sometimes because it's good for your belly. But I think the Bible is clear. You should never be intoxicated. But the actual act of drinking it is not sinful. And so when it comes to tobacco, when it comes to weed, I don't really know what side of that aisle to stand on, because I don't necessarily see it in the text that you shouldn't do it. I just know you shouldn't be intoxicated. Yeah.
So maybe it's like the excessive smoking that could lead to sin.
Yeah. And what I do know is I was talking to a young guy who was asking for advice, and I was like, I almost called his name. I was like, man, it's slowing you down. And he was like, you think so? He didn't smoke for 2 weeks. He was like, Cole, I'm not forgetting nothing. Cole, the world seems so much clearer. Cole, it's amazing how good I feel. And I was like, I was trying to tell you, it's slowing you down. You walking around here like a zombie.
Yeah.
And so I think that, to me, that's where I tell you, no, you don't need to smoke. I don't know if and I think that's where the line is for me, right? I'm never going to be the person that says go smoke some weed. I'm never going to be the person that says go get a blunt, that says go get a cigar. But I also have a problem with demonizing an entire thing that came out the ground. And this is not I'm not affirming this for people who watch, but I'm just trying to add some color to the conversation.
Maybe let's seek wise counsel on that. Let's ask some wiser people to see.
Well, I know every older person I've talked to is like, no, just stay away from it.
Yeah, but then I honestly want to have a conversation with them to see, is it like just like a cultural belief, or do you actually have scripture that you could back up those feelings?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that would be important to see.
And I guess my thing is this. I know that there are portions of cannabis that help with seizures. I know there are portions of cannabis that help with pain management. And so maybe if smoking is a perversion of it, and it is, instead of smoking it is using the herb for what God created it to be. Anything we pervert will cause negative, impact. But obviously, if it has the ability to help with seizures and it came out the ground, God called it good. But a lot of things that God called good, we pervert.
That's a really good take.
Like sex. Like, think about it. God called sex good.
No sex at church.
No sex in church.
This on the list too.
But God called it good. But we have perverted it almost to the point that we almost look at it as if it's bad. God called it good. He made it. He designed it to mirror image his relationship with him and the church. He created it and said, within the confines of marriage, this is a good thing. And the marriage bed is undefiled, which means you with your husband and your wife, between the two of y'all, you can do what you want. When you want, how often you want.
Oh, wow.
All that, right?
It's not at church.
So because the marriage bed is undefiled. But when we step out of the confines of which God created it to be,
then it becomes a problem.
And it causes damage. And it causes, I think that's the answer. And it causes, a problem. So I don't necessarily think that cannabis itself is sinful. I think a perversion of it and seeking for it to cause pleasure to my flesh for the sake of pleasure to my flesh, I think that is problematic. But I think the plan itself has good things.
Yeah. So I'm out of my list. Do you have anything on your list that we shouldn't do?
Don't grab the mic if you're not on program.
Please. Please.
If you are not on program, look. I have had my fair share of folks interrupting service because they just felt like they had to. And it was the wrong time, the wrong place to air out whatever it is they wanted to air out. If nobody talked to you prior to service and said it's okay, don't go up there. Don't address the congregation. It's not the time. Like, wait till next week. Talk to somebody who's over the program, not just your friends about, well, y'all think I should do this night.
Yeah.
And that's my hot take.
Okay. And also, if you are on the program, be mindful of what you're saying on the mic. Going back, so do you remember that clip at that testimony service where that lady was giving her testimony about what God had delivered her from, and she was like, something with my mouth?
Yeah.
And they snatched it. Be careful of what you're saying. Even if you have the space to say it, be mindful.
And also, I guess I saw the clip. I'm not gonna play the clip here. I might. I'm probably not gonna play it.
You're not.
But I also would admonish people who are like over programs and over the mic to be careful about how you deal with people.
Yes.
Because that lady probably was telling a testimony that did not need to be told in that setting. But I always wondered, did that crush her and did she come back? You know, after he takes the mic and tells her to go sit down, did she ever come back? And I think it's a delicate tango we play. Okay, I've got to protect the sheep.
Yeah.
Because what you were about to say, there were probably a lot of people who were not mature enough to hear it. But at the same time, did I damage you in the process?
Yeah. So things to not do in church. Don't do anything that could be damaging, especially as a leader, to like intentionally to someone. Of course, we all gonna fall short. It's all gonna be stuff that people may be offended by, but like.
And see, I think of it like this. We had a minister who is no longer a minister on staff here, who had lived a very hard life. And she got up, I remember the first time she got up preaching, I thank God I wasn't here, but I did receive several phone calls about it. And she had been raped several times. And she had been raped in several places.
Trigger warning.
And she preached in graphic detail about what happened.
Oh my goodness.
This was Preach Youth Church.
It was at youth?
It's pre-youth church.
Okay.
So everybody's in the sanctuary.
Oh, okay.
Like we didn't have a youth church at the time. And there were a number of parents who got their kids and pulled them out of church and said, let's go home. Like, this is too much. Like, I don't need you being exposed to this.
Yeah.
Or asking me questions about what was she talking about.
I don't know what to tell you.
I think her testimony is 100% valid. Her lived experiences are important. And she needs to be heard, felt, and seen, right? I even think that her testimony could be valid in a ministerial place.
Yeah.
What I don't believe is that was the right venue.
Yeah.
I think she could be really effective if a young lady had been through the same thing. And you know, sometimes church have to do trauma ministry. I think she'd be excellent for that.
Like, question, was she not screened of like what she was gonna preach before? And like, I know this is like switching subjects, but is it appropriate for the head pastor to like, if I'm gonna allow you on this platform, like, let me know what you're talking about?
So normally that doesn't happen.
It doesn't?
Normally that doesn't happen.
Really?
Normally that doesn't happen. No. Sometimes in a lot of venues, what might happen is your notes get sent to the media team. And if your media team is discerning, the media team be like, hey, you seen their notes? But most of the time the media team is not very discerning because that's not a very ministerial role. It just so happens that I do media here. Normally that doesn't happen.
That's interesting. See, I would think that like, as a shepherd of the flock, I would want like if I'm inviting someone in, even if I trust them, I think there would be some sort of conversation about like, what is your sermon going to be about? So that way we could have some dialogue about that, because if I'm the shepherd, like I know what will be appropriate. And like, if we didn't have children's church, girl, your testimony is necessary, but maybe at a different program. So like, let's like revise this.
Well, and I think the other thing for us to talk about and consider is in a lot of venues, you hear a lot of pastors talking about it'll take 12 sermons to fix one bad sermon.
Yeah.
And so you'll have one preacher come in, do a lot of damage, and then they will spend the next 12 weeks cleaning that mess up. And so I think, but that's been the model, because it's not normal for me to ask, because the expectation is that God is speaking. God could change the message at any time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's believing that the preacher has been prayerful, and discerning, and has done their due diligence. But that's the expectation, right? I think as I'm praying about moving into pastoral roles and seeking, God in that vein, I do think that when people are in training or they're new to your ministry, and this is me talking in theory and not in practice, that there may be a little more necessity for, as you're training people, to walk with them through their first several sermons.
Yeah.
Which is something that possibly could have been valuable when we were being trained. And that I didn't receive that. But as I think through it, like if you got new ministers coming into the house and you don't know what their doctrine is, you don't know where they've grown up spiritually, you got new preachers who've never preached before, I think it may be helpful to walk them through that.
Yeah.
But that's not normal. That would be a pilot program.
Okay. Well, we need to get that together to avoid that, because that, like you said, I hope that preacher did not, that minister did not leave from that like sermon feeling defeated and like afraid of sharing her testimony moving forward.
Yeah.
Because of the response of the people, but like also I feel like,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I also feel like, and I'm going to say this, and it's not
read the room. Sorry.
Yeah, read the room. But I also think it's important, and this is more, I guess, aimed at ministry leaders. You've got to know what you're called to do before you get up trying to do stuff.
Yes.
And I guess, let me give you a little bit of context. I know for a fact God has called me to be able to break down big concepts. I'm not the revivalist that makes everybody feel good. Every now and then, God will give me a feel-good sermon and people get excited. But more than likely, God, He has gifted me this ability. The anointing rests on me to be able to take a big concept, break it down, make it plain. How can I apply this to my life today? That's my job right now. And like, that's what I'm anointed to do right now. And so I don't walk in the room with the expectation that I'm about to shout the room. If the room shouts, praise God.
Yeah.
Right.
To God be the glory.
But I know that's not where I am. I think a lot of people get called into ministry, and the expectation is that I'm a preach from the pulpit, I'm a teach, and I got to have the biggest crowd. When some of us, that's not your calling.
Yeah.
Some of you are called to like women's ministry, and the most people you're going to impact at one time is 10 folks.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make you any less called, any less more important,
or gifted,
any gifted, but you understanding the assignment.
Yes.
That's on your life is so important, because I can teach you how to preach like me all day, but if you're not called to be me, it doesn't matter.
And nobody called to be nobody. Like you're called to be yourself. Exactly. So like, and I know, like, I don't know if we talked about it on air, but talking about like the fivefold ministry, how it's.
I really want to do an episode on that.
Okay, we can. So we can hold that thought.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. Be discernful. Is that the word?
Discerning.
Discerning. Thank you. About like where God is calling you to, and like what the area He's calling you to minister in.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to be don't just think about it.
Yeah,
pray about it.
Pray about it. Yeah,
because a lot of us will see the glitz, the glamours, and you will see, It used to be more glamorous than it is now. They bring you the orange juice in the pretty chalice, and they sit it down next to you. They sit it on the pulpit.
You get orange juice?
They used to. It depends on what church you go to. They bring you some orange juice, or they bring you like some hot tea, and somebody's carrying your books and your Bible to the pulpit.
Really?
And so it looks really glamorous.
Yeah.
I promise it ain't like that now. They bring me a bottle of water after I finish preaching and be like,
I'm weak. Not after.
You know, but we see the glitz, the glamour. You see the specialized parking spot. You see, they call you Reverend.
They got a good parking spot. Now I ain't gonna lie, I ain't never been to the church and the pastor ain't had no fine parking spot.
Well, yeah,
pastor and first lady.
You get that nice part. Well, Pastor, they share one spot.
Oh, really?
And Pastor Will usually gives Gwen his spot.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, but my church, pastor, first lady.
No, we had pastor, assistant pastor,
senior members.
Oh, y'all had a senior member spot.
Senior members. It's pastor, first lady, minister of music, senior members.
Yeah, we had pastor, assistant pastor, minister of music,
assistant pastor,
assistant minister of music. Yeah, basically. The musicians need to be in place.
Yeah.
And those preaching need to be in place.
Right.
So if y'all late, y'all need a place to park. But yeah, I think that is so important.
But y'all, the overall topic about this episode is, honestly, I feel like this goes for everything, is read the room. Read the room. What you shouldn't do in the church, read the room for that church.
Yeah.
We can tell you not to walk behind the pulpit, but your church might not have no pulpit. We could tell you not to talk on the phone. Well, no, that's inappropriate everywhere. Like, don't answer the phone during church.
Right.
Turn your ringer off. I get sick of that. I can't lie. I done got mad about that. I hate hearing the ringer in church.
Yeah.
But read the room for your church. And Carl, I'm gonna let you take it away because I can't think of your script.
What?
I can't think. Actually, no, I got it. Okay. If you find the church, it don't gotta be the church that hurts you, but it needs to be a Bible believing, Bible teaching, Bible living out right church. I was gonna say holiness church. It ain't gotta be a holiness church, but
it could be a Baptist church.
Yeah. It could be
it could be a Bible believing
church that's Bible believing, Bible teaching, Bible living out right.
It
don't gotta be the church that hurt you, but you just find one, find the community.
And it don't have to be mega. It don't have to be many.
But it could be just right for you.
And that's all that matters.
Well, we love you with the love of Christ, child. We'll talk to y'all next week.
No, he didn't say child. We'll talk to y'all next week.
We'll talk to y'all next week. Bye.
Y'all be blessed. Bye-bye.